So hello everyone, we are back again with our new video on SQL tutorial VKHO by VKHO groups. So in this video we are going to discuss SQL Server System Aggregate Function part 2. So basically part 1 video we have already posted on our channel, so you can go and watch. So basically what are the topics we are going to discuss today? So we are going to discuss the below aggregate functions which we have left in our first video. So those are checksum aggregate function, count big, group in id function, stdev function, stdevp function, var function, and at last varp function. So basically what are the aggregate functions that we have already discussed in part 1 are like average, count, mean, max, sum, binary checksum, and checksum. So before proceeding with the part 2 video, I recommend you to go and check part 1 video so that all the aggregate functions will be in line to you. Okay, now proceed with our first function. So first is that checksum aggregate function. So let's check what it do. So the checksum aggregate function in SQL Server is an aggregate function used to calculate a checksum value based on a group of values. Okay, used to calculate the checksum value based on a group of value. It is particularly helpful in detecting changes in data and ensuring data integrity. So basically, it is also similar to that of checksum function, but the result set is like different. It will provide you the aggregated value of the checksum. In checksum, we are getting value for each of the row, but in checksum aggregate function, we will get a single record, which is aggregated value of each of the checksum records. Okay, so the syntax for checksum is also very means simple, like select checksum aggregate cast and then cast salary. I think this is the example. So let's move on SQL Server and check how it is working. Okay, so let me trigger the Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, and then we will check how it is working. Okay, let's connect to local. So basically today I have created one table, that sales table, so that we don't need to create the table, as we have already explained these in our previous videos, how to create the table from means the GUI and also from the query. So you can use any one of the method. Okay, now we have the sales table. Let's check what it has. So select 10,000 record, 1,000 records, and here. So here we have the sales ID, company name, product name, country, and the sales amount. So basically, what the checksum function will do. So if we apply that, select checksum, checksum aggregate. Okay, checksum we have already discussed. So checksum underscore aggregate on. Let's take that column like sales amount from sales table. Okay, from sales table. So let's trigger this query. What we are getting? So we are getting a single record. Okay, I missed the alias as check aggregate CKAGG. We can mention CK underscore AGG for aggregate. Okay, so now what we are getting? 1992. Okay, so basically what it is doing, it is aggregating the checksum results. So now also we can check the what are the results for checksum we are getting for this sales amount column. So checksum as CK underscore S. So control R and then execute this query. So this we are getting, and now checksum will provide us some aggregated value on top of that checksum, and we can also use this query like this: checksum, then check aggregate on the checksum function. As now close the parenthesis, and like this also we can use this particular query. Okay, now we are getting this. So basically this is used for means comparing data between two tables that has the same data, or how the data is means getting changed. So similarly, like yesterday, we can take a backup of this particular sales table and then check how the results are coming. Okay, now then select star into. So this is how you can create a backup for a table. Okay, select star into sales table underscore BAK from sales table. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Now we can put the same aggregate function, checksum aggregate on both of the tables and check if the data is similar to both of them or not. Take the backup table at one place and one place the sales table. Okay. Now execute the result. Press Ctrl R, then execute. Okay, so we are getting the same result both of the places, 192, 192. So both the data in both the tables is similar. Let's try to change little data in the backup table and then check how it is giving the result. Edit top 200 record, then put it as 80. Okay, so one value I have changed in the backup table. Now when we execute, then we can find out. I think more record we need to change. Let's check what is there. Edit top 200 record. Okay, sorry, I have used the different table, student backup table. I have taken the backup. Now first we need to refresh this, and then we can see the sales table backup. So here we can edit top 200 record and then put it like 85,000 to 90,000. Okay, now we can check the results. Control R, then execute. Okay, now see the checksum in sales table is the same 1992, but it changed in sales table backup, which is 5200. Okay. Okay, now I think this is clear to everyone. Now move for the next function. So then what we have after checksum, we have count big. Okay, so now check what it is doing. So the count big function in SQL Server is very similar to the count function, but with a key distinction. It returns a big int data type instead of int. Means it is returning big int instead of the integer data type. This make it suitable for counting large data set where the results might exceed the maximum value of an integer, which is around more than 2 billion record. Okay, so basically the count big is similar to count, but it is used for huge data set, huge data type like big int, and count is used for integer. Now let's go to the SQL Server Management Studio and check the working of count big also. Okay, so now we can take the count of count star. Select count big star from sales table. Okay, now let's execute this query. So we are getting 9 records, and here what how many records we have? So here also we have 9 records. So mostly it is used for begin data types, and it is working similar to that of count function. Okay, so as big count, big C, and we can also check, compare it with count also, so that it will be clear to all. Okay, now let's compare the count star as C. Okay, now execute both of the records at one time. So we are getting big C and C 99. Okay, so it is clear to everyone. Okay, now move ahead for the next function. So next we have grouping function. So what grouping function will do? The grouping function in SQL Server is a handy tool that helps you determine whether a row in a result set was created by a group by clause or by roll up, cube, or grouping set operators. So essentially it identifies if a column is aggregated in a grouped result. So basically what grouping will do? So grouping will provide if the column is grouped by or some aggregate function is happening on that. So it will be much clearer if we check the example for that. So let's move to SQL Server and then check the working of grouping function. So the syntax of grouping function is very simple, like grouping to the column name. Okay, now let's move to SQL Server Management Studio and check working of grouping function. So basically grouping function is used with that roll up, cube and grouping concept, grouping set concept. So basically these are means a separate concept in itself. So we will try to means make a whole video on this concept itself, means a separate video on roll up, cube and grouping set. So those who are aware of this will be able to means understand the grouping function also. And don't worry if you don't understand, then in the separate video when we will create that roll up, cube and that one grouping set, then you can be easily able to fetch that the relation between grouping and these three functions. Okay, so now what we need to do, first we need to select select like select from sales table. Now we will mention the column names, like we will find the sum of sale amount and group it by product name and country name. So one roll up function I will tell you what it will do. So basically when we do a roll up on a means a grouping by roll up, then what it will do, it will provide you a means grand total sum and sum by each of the columns. Means it will first if you take the two columns in a roll up, like product name and country, both we will group by this. So take the example here itself, it will be much understandable. Okay, little bit idea of roll up I will give you now, so that you can be able to understand it. So select company name, company name comma product name, product name, and then sum of salary, sum of sales amount, sorry, sales amount, sum of sales amount from sales table, and then group the result by both company and product with roll up, with roll up. Okay, so now check the result, how it is giving the result, then you can understand the roll up function also. So what it is doing, it is first means aggregating by company and then by product, and then providing means then it is doing the aggregation on base of like product, then it is doing the aggregation group by on the company name, and it is providing this as null. So product is coming as the aggregated value. So aggregation is based on the product name, and then again see here company name, it is doing the aggregation company name grouping, it is doing by company name and then product name. And now at end it is doing the means company name wise, and then this is product name is null, so only grouping by company name. And similarly doing like for the third one, and at the end it is not grouping by any of the column, it is providing the total grand sum, means sum of the amount based on no grouping. Like what it is doing, one second, I will show you here. First it is grouping by company name and product name, all the results, and then it is only grouping by company name. So in this case the product name is coming null and the aggregation is only on the company name. So for all of the three companies we have the same record, like Bata null and then the aggregated value, then Puma. So at this stage it is doing grouping by company name, and at the end it is not doing any grouping, so both are null. Okay, so in this case product name is null, and in at the end both are null. So both are null means it is providing us the grand total. So if you check the result here and if you do separately this one, like select sum of sales amount from sales table, sum of sales amount from sales table, execute both the records simultaneously, and give one alias as total sales, as total sales. Okay, and this also has total sales, total total sales. Okay, now when we execute both of them, so you can check the grand total for both of them is will match. Okay, so see the grand total at this first result record, make it large and make it small. So here see 669,000. So this is the grand total and these are the grouped total. Okay, okay, now so what is the use of grouping function? So grouping here will provide means value 1 when the column when any value is grouped, and when it is not grouped then it will provide 0. Okay, so we will check, we need to provide each of the column one by one and provide grouping on both of them, apply grouping function on both of them. So we can provide like here total amount comma grouping, take in caps, grouping, grouping by company name as GCN, we can take like GCN, and then comma grouping by G, grouping by product name as GPN, GPN product name. Okay, now when we will execute this, so basically what record we are getting, so see, so the kind of result it is giving, like we will try to make it large bit, little bit, the result set is not getting large. Okay, okay, so you can see from here itself, so how the result set is coming, like take the screenshot, then we will. Okay, so what it is coming, like here we can do large, I think, make it bigger. Okay, now see here what is happening, so it is grouping by both of them, so both of them are in grouping column and no aggregation is happening, so the aggregation is happening only on total sales. So this and here now it is grouping the now it is this one is the aggregation by product name. Okay, and the grouped column is the company name. Okay, and the product name is in aggregate function. So here we are getting 1 for GPN grouping product name. Okay, similarly here nothing is happening, no aggregation is happening, and here the aggregation is happening based on that product name, and the group by column is the company name. So 1 for 1 for group by product name, and again here also the same, this and this, and now for at the end both the columns are in aggregate and we are getting the total sum. So here both the columns are grouped, so it is providing us the detail like which column is grouped and which column is aggregated. So 0 for grouped column and 1 for the aggregated column. Okay, so I think this much is clear to everyone, and we have also covered little bit roll up concept. So we will create a separate video for roll up cube and grouping set concept. Okay, that is a means good concept to know for reporting perspective and analysis perspective. So we will for sure create a video on that. Okay, now move to the next function what we have. Okay, so after grouping what we have, checksum is done, count big is done, Grouping is done. Now we have grouping id. So grouping id is also similar only. So first let's check the definition what it is telling. So the grouping id function in SQL server is an extension of the grouping function. It provides a unique numeric value to identify the level of aggregation in result set when using group by clause with operators like roll up, cube, or grouping set. So it is also working same. So let's check on SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, so that we will be able to catch this little faster, because by definition it is not means clearly mentioned. So here we can understand it clearly. Okay, so just keep this particular query. And what grouping ID is doing? So basically, grouping ID is providing you the binary sum of binary sum of the aggregated column or the grouped column. Okay, so you can keep it like this only. We can compare it with grouping also. So now you can take the, so in grouping you need to keep the column list same as that of the columns which are in group by clause. Okay, so you need to keep like this grouping ID. So keep both the columns in one list. So this list should match so that you will get a proper result. Okay, so when you can check all the columns which are in group by clause, we have kept that in grouping ID, and grouping we are doing. So now we can execute this and check the result what we are getting. Okay, so let's see. So Marcus as, give the alias also as as gpid. Okay, so when we execute this, what result we are getting? So see, here we are getting 1, and then 1, and then here we are getting 3. So basically what it is doing, it is combining both of them, both the GCN and GPN, and provide the binary of that particular data. Like binary, if you know how to do binary, so we will explain this also. Let's explain this also. So basically means what it is doing. So we have 1 1, like for GCN it is 0 0. So 0 0. So 0 0. So the formula for calculating doing means numeric to binary is like, you can do like this. The formula is like, we will go from right to left. Okay, so basically right to left, when we go, we need to do 2. First we need to do 2 power 0 into 1, and then the second record will come like 2 power 1 into into this particular, the result 2 power 1 into 0. Okay, the result set, and then 2 power 0 into 0. So both will come like 0, and then it will do the sum for this. So 0 plus 0 will come 0. Now we can check from here, like 1 and 3. If we 1 and 1 is coming like 3. So if we do for this 1 and 1, so what we will get? For 1 we will get, uh, we need to go from right to left. So let's take first second one also 1. Okay, now in this case we will do like, for second it will be 2 power we can provide this sign, 2 power 0 into 1. Okay, and for this we have 2 power 1 into 1. Okay, so 2 power 0 equals to 1 into 1, so it will return like 1 equals to 1, and this will return 2 power 1 equal to 2 into 1, so it will return 2. Now 2 plus 1 equals to 3. 2 plus 1 equals to 3. So that is why we are getting 3. Okay, so I think this is clear. So this is the use of grouping and grouping ID, how they are working. Okay, so I think this is clear to everyone. Okay, now let's move for the next function we have. Okay, let's comment it. I will provide the codes, means codes at the end. Okay, now move for the next function. So next function what we have? So next function we have like STDEV. So what it is doing? The STDEV function in SQL Server is an aggregate function that calculates the statistical standard deviation. Okay, so it is calculating statistical standard deviation of a set of values. Basically, it is calculating the standard deviation of a set of value. So the standard deviation is a measure of dispersion or variation in a data set. It shows how much value deviates from the mean. Okay, mean or average. So basically standard deviation will show you, means what is the deviation of each of the record from the average value. Okay, so we can understand it better on SQL Server Management Studio. So let's move on the Management Studio and check the code, then you will understand it more better. Okay, so basically what it is doing now, so stdev is providing the standard deviation. So first of all it will find out the average of each of them. Okay, and then it will find the variance, means it will provide you like average, how far, how much deviated each of the salary is from the average. Okay, from the average salary. Like if we go and check, first execute the function, select stdev. So the argument we need to pass is a numerical column here, sales amount. So we will pass select stdev of sales amount from sales table, sales table. Okay, now let's execute this. So what value it is providing? Like standard deviation as st deviation, we can write. Okay, st deviation is standard deviation. So now we can check. So it is providing the value 21,004 424. Okay, point something. And now when we check, so what basically it is doing, like first of all it is finding the average. What is the average of the total salary, total sales amount, which average of total sales amount as average vrg, avrg is fine. Okay, now it is finding the average, which is 74,333. Copy and paste. And now it is comparing this particular average from all the sales amount, like how much deviated each of the sales amount is from this particular average. So this is the sales amount from average. Okay, so first of all, means the calculation formula for standard deviation is like, first you need to find out the average, and then subtract each of the records from the average value, and then find out the square of the subtracted value, that is the variance, and then find out the average of the squared value. Okay, find out the average of the squared value, and then you need to means find the square root of that particular value, then that will be providing you the standard deviation. Okay, so that stdev is providing the standard deviation of a particular value. Okay, now I think this is clear to everyone, and if you comment, we will create a separate video for dedicated video to stdev and all function, like which you are not able to get properly. So these are means a topic in itself, and it will take a time for providing you the full formula and explaining like that. So means this is a partial explanation kind of you can take, and if needed you can comment, we will create a separate video dedicated on that particular function itself. Now the what is the next function we have? So we have STDEVP. Okay, so what it is doing? So this is similar to that of STDEV, but in STDEV it is considering the data like sample data. So while finding the average of the variance, it is means taking divided by an number of record minus 1, but in STDEVP it is providing the means standard deviation and considering the whole as a population and taking the whole value while finding the variance. Okay, while finding the average of the variance, it is considering all the records. So what it is doing, let's check from the statement. So the the STDEVP function in SQL Server is an aggregate function that calculates the population in standard deviation. Population in standard deviation means the whole it is considering as one and one population, and then finding the standard deviation for a set of values. Unlike the STDEV function, which calculates the sample standard deviation, STDEVP consider the entire population of data in its calculation. Okay, so the difference among both of them is like that only. Sample standard deviation is means subtracting one value from the total value while finding the average of the variance, whereas STDEVP is considering the whole number of records while finding the average of the variance. Okay, so I think that is also clear to everyone. So both are working like both calculation formula for both STDEV and STDEVP is same, but we can check one time in SQL Server also that what result it is providing. So select STDEVP, and the syntax for both of them is like that only, and both required a numerical column to be calculated. Okay, from sales amount, from sales table, take the sales amount STDEVP sales amount. So if you check this result, so both have a little, so as STP we can consider like this as SDP, and then we can also check that, compare that STDEVP, so that we will get a clear idea means uh, d- how much variation in both of them. Okay, like STDEV, so it is considering the total population STDEVP, and STDEV is considering that like a sample and subtracting minus 1 in the number of record while finding out the average of variance. So you can see means both have different record set. Okay, standard dev STDEVP 20,199 point something, and for STDEV we have 21,424 point something. Okay, so I think this is clear to everyone. Okay, now let's move and check the other functions that we have. So what is the next function we have? So next we have the var. Okay, so the var function in SQL Server is an aggregate function used to calculate the statistical variance for a sample of set of a data for a sample of a set of data set of values. Okay, so variance measure the on degree of variation or dispersion within a data set. So basically what var is doing, var function is basically doing the same thing, but in STDEV what we are doing, in STDEV we are finding out the variance from the square rooted value, and then after that we are finding out the means that square root of that particular value, means squared the value while finding out the variance, and then after that for standard deviation we are doing the square root of that particular value, so that we will get the inline value, means what value we are putting, that inline value we are getting. But in var what we are doing, we are in var the deviation is based on the variance value itself, so it is providing the standard deviation on the basis of like variance squared value. Okay, so let's check the result for that also. So we will get a bigger result in case of var. So we can select var of sales amount from sales table. Sales table. Okay, So the argument for this also is a numerical column it required. Now execute this as as where record where underscore record we can mention, it will be clear. Okay, so what record we are getting, like this much we are getting. Okay, so you can see it has provided a greater record. Okay, so this is clear. So if you try to find out the square root of this particular value, then what we are getting, let's check once. Select. So we have an inbuilt function in SQL Server to find the square root also, sqrt of this value. So what we are getting, so see, we are getting same value as that of STDEV. Okay, so the calculation formula of both are almost similar, but the calculation of var stops at that variance level, and the STDEV goes till standard deviation level. Okay, so this is clear to everyone. And similarly at the end, what we have, let's go to the last function that we have. Let's comment this part. So I think this is clear to everyone, and keep this particular thing also in mind. We have an inbuilt function like sqrt for finding out the square root also. So you can check this one also. Okay, now let's go to the ppt and check the last function what we have. So at last we have VARP. Okay, so VARP is also means same concept is there for var and VARP, STDEV and STDEVP. So VARP is considering the whole as a population and not subtracting -1 from the variance records while finding the average of variance. In total number of record, it is not subtracting -1, and that var is subtracting -1. So in VARP it is considering the whole population. So let's check it from the definition what is it is providing. So the VARP function in SQL Server is an aggregate function used to calculate the population variance of a set of values. So here it is also mentioned like clearly, like population variance, it is finding the variance. Okay, and in STDEV if you go and check, so it is providing like statistical standard deviation. Okay, so from the definition also it is clear that it is finding the variance and that is finding the standard deviation. Like STDEV is finding the standard deviation and VAR is finding the variance. So the VARP function in SQL Server is an aggregate function used to calculate the population variance of a set of values. So variance is a measure of how far the data points in a data set are spread out from the mean, means how far the data point in a data set is spread out from the mean. So basically these are comparing the values of each of the records from the average value of that particular column. Okay, so the perspective is like that only. So they are providing the deviation based on the average value, how much deviated each of the salary is from the average value. So in companies basically what we have, like how much variation in the among the salaries of each of the employee, for finding that particular thing. So these functions can be used. Okay, so now what we have, the VARP function, unlike var, assumes the data set represents the entire population. Okay, so now when we go and check this function in SQL Server Profiler, Management Studio, sorry, not Profiler. So Profiler is a separate concept itself. So those videos also we will cover for sure. So don't worry about that. Uses of Profiler and all also we are going to explain in our channel. So be with us and means improve your SQL skills. So now where P we will check. So now what we have, select where P, and for this also the argument should be a means integer column, sales amount from sales table, from sales table. Okay, now execute this. Now see the value as we can give the alias also as our var p record underscore p record records. Okay. Hmm. So what record we are getting? Like this much value we have got. And now when we do the square root of this particular, so select sqrt of this value. Now what we are getting here, I can improve this also a little bit. Let's make it large so that it will be clearly visible. Now square root of this var p, if we will do, then we will get the same value as that of STDEVP. So we are getting this value, one second, this value, which is similar to that of STDEVP. Okay, so I think all the things are clear to everyone. And if you need, let us know. We will create a separate dedicated video for only these four functions. That will also be a better. So we will show the calculations and all. And okay, so now this is the end of part 2 also. So we have completed all the aggregate functions in SQL Server. And thank you for watching, and like, share and subscribe, and comment us if you need any help regarding to SQL Server. So any kind of help you can comment us, let us know anything if you want to know, and any video a specific video you want us to make, so we will create that. And as I have mentioned, for online training and all, contact to the given number in our organization. We will connect with you also. And be connected on the comment section, and like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone.